Welcome back to another edition of the Forza Athletics Life and Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Charles Inferno. We're at Forza Athletics. We equip coaches and athletes with the tools they seek out in order to achieve their unique and specific goals. And it is Tuesday, still Tuesday the 4th, afternoon edition, sunnier edition also. Just wrapped up day 4. Teacher observation or APPR training. So I got a little certificate that says I'm reliable and that I can observe teachers, and that's really cool because we're going to be doing that in the next couple weeks at my school. And with reliability, it's not so much really with reliability, not a good transition. With the start of the year, we have our first practice next Monday, Columbus Day. We start our unofficial 26-week trek to outdoor nationals. A little shorter for indoor nationals, but we use outdoor, give us a longer time frame to talk and discuss and try and figure out what exactly we're trying to do and how we're going to get there. And in the video from earlier this morning where I talked a little bit about scripting. And for our new throwers who have never thrown before that want to join our team, and for throwers who have thrown before but have never thrown like the hammer, weight, javelin, we have a script, right? So I have a script, so it's anywhere between like 4 to 6 structured practices for those specific athletes focused on basically learn to turn fundamentals, and as we transition to outdoor, more purposeful practice for the javelin. It's really interesting because in my group of like throwing coach friends, we often talk about winging it. And I've talked about winging it. I don't wing it. But others seem to wing it. And it's really interesting to me that after all these years of coaching, that I still try and have mapped out lessons or really practice plans for our athletes based on what they want to accomplish, what they want to do, and where they are in their throwing journey. And it kind of coincides a little bit with the goals that they set for themselves and what they want to accomplish at the end of the season. So kind of like backwards design, which is like an older curriculum mapping format where you take the assessment at the end of the year. What do you want them to know or be able to do? So in that case, maybe throw far at a conference championship meet or nationals, and then plan our season backwards. So what we incorporate along the way in order to get us where essentially we want to get with our athletes. So for the returning athletes who set maybe loftier goals or don't set as lofty goals for themselves, we have conversations and we sit down and we try and figure out where they are, where their headspace is at, what type of mindset and sport performance, really activities and other lessons we can share with them to kind of get them going on their way. And it's not really forced, especially at this level, if athletes ask for additional assistance or if they want to have a more individualized, like one-on-one plan. I love doing that. And that's kind of the focus for me this season with our athletes, is to primarily, for the ones that I don't work with every day, is to provide a series of strategies, tips, tools, like suggestions, like things that they can do to help themselves better prepare for the season, right? So how to overcome, or strategies that they can incorporate to overcome anxiety or pre-meet competition, or pre-comp anxiety rather, how to focus better, what visualization looks like, or what does it look like to take mental reps, things of that nature, right? And all of that really starts on Monday. So today's Tuesday, so we got a ways to go still. But for the most part, I've shared some ideas and strategies with our returning athletes already. And for the newbies, we'll spend some time on that in the future. And getting back to like that structured piece, what I think is really cool is, well, I think it's cool anyway, is that it allows me to have in my pocket a series of progressions for our athletes. So everyone has their own philosophy on how to coach and introduce new skills. And is it a whole part whole? Is it part whole? Like how do you teach someone to turn, right? Learn to turn. I have a video about that, right? So the steps to like 90, 180, 270, catch, all these things back to zero. How to turn that, no pun intended, into like turns and multiple turns and all that. So there's a rhyme and reason. But the reason, again, another pun. But what I'm really talking about, or want to get across, is do we have a plan on how we do that, or do we just show up and as a coach we just try and figure out what we're doing as we go? So I don't have necessarily like a notebook that I bring to practice. I have note cards with specific ideas for each newbie, just based on their prior experiences or what they've shared with me. And usually session one, the goal for me is to have at least 2 winds and 2 to 3 turns and a release with the hammer every session. So how long does that take? Well, sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it takes maybe an hour and a half. Sometimes 30 minutes. Sometimes 2 hours. So depending on the athlete's ability levels, how long it's going to take them to figure that out. But everything is structured along the way to teach everybody the same. And then as they are able to take throws that land in the sector, then we can kind of build our progressions off of that. So there's like a plan for that. Same with their goals, right? If they want to be a national champion after their freshman season, but they've never thrown the weight or hammer before, that's the example. It's gonna be difficult to accomplish. Not impossible, but difficult, where we might need to reassess our goals and try and figure out, what we might actually be capable of accomplishing. Just kind of looking at it from a different lens, from a different perspective on, what's going to give our kids the best opportunities to be successful, in those regards. But it's really interesting watching all these videos on teachers and how to observe classrooms and being in education for 18 years. Always pick up something new, and a lot of what I picked up that's newer and how I'm going to be able to incorporate it with my throwers is trying to be more concise and specific every single throw, as opposed to nice job or it looked good, because it's not really helpful to the athletes. Oh, that looked good. Well, what part of the throw looked good? Because you caged the throw. So maybe your footwork looked good, but you released late. Or maybe your orbit was a little out of whack, but your turns were still nice. Or your release was really good, but your feet were all over the place, and that's why you caged it. So I'm going to try and be more explicit is my goal, based on the needs of the athletes. So if they want some type of feedback after every throw, we'll try and figure it out. If they want every couple throws, we'll be able to sandwich that together also. But I think it's important to know your athletes, know your kids, try and figure out what they prefer, what's going to be best for them. But that's my philosophy, right? So that's more of how I coach and like my leadership with them is asking a lot of questions and trying to figure out what they need, what's going to be best for them, what's going to be most helpful for them, and how we're going to be able to get there. And other people are not like that, and that's great. which is actually nice for me to see when we're at meets, how different coaches coach and interpret. Really just interprets the same situation differently, which is something that we're gonna start working on in the next week or two. First meets in December, first weekend in December. Actually, we have 2 meets in December, first week and second week, so I'm really excited about that. And trying to put, this goal into practice for myself of being more explicit with feedback that I give my athletes, and how, hopefully how they can take that feedback, incorporate it, and be able to incorporate it and implement those strategies. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Implement those strategies in their next, throw or two, and then we come back and, do it all over again. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Forza Athletics Life and Coaching Podcast. My name is Dr. Charles Inferno, and have a great day.